you want to be clever, not corny in your writing. And that's kind of my approach now. How can I be clever to grab that viewer in?
Presented by Sacramento Educational Cable Consortium. You're listening to Lights, Camera, Learn. Welcome to another episode of Lights, Camera, Learn. We're here with Denzen Cortez. He's a reporter at the NBC affiliate here in Sacramento, KCRA. Denzen, welcome.
Thank you, Aaron. Appreciate you having me. This is truly an honor to be here.
Well, I appreciate you being here. So, I was a journalism major, and I'm always curious on journalists, how they got into what they're doing. So what was it? Was there a particular prompt, a particular part of your life that says, this is what I want to do?
I could go as early as age 9.
Okay, let's start there.
We'll go 9. In third grade, my elementary school teacher, we did a newscast for the Super Bowl. And she says, we're looking for people, anchors, reporters, just for this one particular newscast. I've always been I would say, creative kid. Took interest into, video recording, journaling. So you kind of combine those two interests, and there comes journalism. So I raised my hand to be one of those anchors. So I think there's a clip that floats around of me anchoring at like age 9.
Okay, we'll have to find that.
Yeah. So that kind of sparked the curiosity and interest. So by the time I went into middle school, one of the programs, TJTV, they were doing signups, and if I'm not mistaken, it was only open to 8th graders. And here comes this incoming 7th grader, and still with that curiosity, because I think that's the most important in journalism. You have to have some type of curiosity. And walked up to the program director at the time, Dana LaChapelle, and said, hey, I would love to be involved in this. And I kind of haven't looked back since. And since that moment up until now, it's that true, genuine curiosity, the love of storytelling, I think, is a big factor of mine. Because no matter what you're covering, from either hard news, a feature story, an explainer, it's a story at the end of the day. You're telling someone's story, the chain of events that happened. And that's the part that I really enjoy about this industry.
Yeah. So then you did this program in high school, and then you started saying, okay, where do I want to go to college? So how did that choice come about, and where did you end up?
Yeah, because I did it more for fun, I would say. It was on the side. I grew up playing sports, so the goal was to get a full ride for sports. Okay. I was that generation that got the COVID, the COVID year. So end of my junior, senior year, COVID had happened, and I said, okay, well, sports, I enjoy it, but I don't think it's going to work out the way I anticipated it to. And I'd been doing journalism and media for quite some time, and I said, you know what? Let's follow it. My parents always said, choose a career that you wake up every day and you enjoy it. You go to work and it doesn't feel like work. And that's kind of how media felt. I enjoyed it. It was a passion of mine. So once college, admissions started coming around, I said, all right, well, where do I want to go? And luckily it led me to Arizona State at the Cronkite School. And initially I was going to go as a sports journalism major. Okay. Dad kind of was like, hey, if you look at anchors right now, a lot of former players, he says, why don't you take a crack at regular news? Yeah. And I said, okay. And I like a challenge. I like learning new things. So, it was a perfect match, because I feel with, regular news and in that aspect, you're learning something new every day. That's true. Yeah. And you're kind of like the expert for that one story for that day. So when pursuing the degree in college, I said, all right, I'm going to go in as a regular journalism major, and then kind of haven't looked back since. And now it's led here.
There you go. So what sport did you play, and what were you hoping to play in college?
Since age 4 and 5, I wrestled and played football.
Did you really? Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So that was kind of like the bread and butter. I played quarterback. Okay. And then wrestling, since age 4. But there's actually a lot of similarities that I take away from sports.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, what of your sports background have you brought into the journalism?
Yeah, it actually has a lot. Yeah. And I've had conversations with a lot of people in the industry too, like, how has sports, how has theater, other, external factors, how do they play into journalism? And I say it actually plays a lot because the work ethic that sports taught me, I translated to journalism.
Okay.
There's going to be days where, maybe a source is not getting back to you as quick. Are you going to lay down in defeat and kind of like, okay, they didn't get back to me? Or are you going to find different avenues to, still pursue the story and still make sure you're getting the facts right? But also to working with a team. I think that's really important because journalism is a team effort.
Sure.
As a reporter, I'm relying on my photographer to make sure, the story gets on air and we're on the same page, or the producers. So when playing football, and especially at the quarterback position, you're running the offense.
It's all on you. Yeah.
You're running the offense. And very similar as a reporter, right? I'm putting my face out, but it's a team effort to make sure we're getting the facts right.
Yeah.
And what I'm presenting is truthful and accurate. And that's where the similarities of football kind of come in. And I say, you know what? I credit that, and it's kind of carried me throughout journalism.
Well, and the wrestling, too. I mean, I've known friends of mine that were wrestlers. In fact, one of our board members was a wrestler in high school and college. Mm-hmm. It's a different breed. I mean, when you say go to the mat,
yes,
you are ready to go to the mat.
And it touches on another thing too, because wrestling. So that football was team sport,
right?
Wrestling solo sport.
Yeah.
So I think I draw a lot of inspiration from wrestling in the aspect of it's all on you. What you put in is what you get out.
Yeah.
And I kind of had that mentality throughout college and my internships, and even now, like being new as a reporter, there's still the extras that I need to do and have to do, just to put myself in the best position possible to just be the best reporter I can be for my communities, for my team, and that's where I learned from wrestling. Because you can't blame it on another person there.
No.
The training that you're doing, you're getting out of it. I could go back as early as age 6, dieting and strict working out schedules. But it all, I think, played itself a role to where I'm at now because it taught me the self-discipline.
I was just going to say, I think that anything like that where you're in an organized effort, whether it be sports or theater, the discipline of showing up.
Yes.
And then showing up for your team or even for yourself, like I said, for wrestling is pretty critical in media or for any job, in particular for what you do.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. And that's the aspect that I credit sports for. And, wrestling too. They have this saying that if you wrestled, life's easy.
Okay.
Certain things still have given a challenge, but there is some truth to that saying because wrestling is a very disciplined sport. And, journalism, I think a lot of people think with, being on TV and that aspect of things, it really is a grind behind doors because you're fact checking, usually we get out of meetings at 10 a.m., hopefully. But then we got to be live at 4. You only have a certain amount of time.
That's right.
To keep going. And it's a long industry, long career. How can you stay mentally focused, mentally sharp to continuously do it each day?
Yeah. I want to ask you a little bit more about that, so let's put a pin in that. But I want to go back to, you were in Arizona State, which is one of the top media journalism schools in the country now. Mm-hmm. You got out of school and then got an internship with David Muir. How did that happen, and what did you get out of that experience?
I'll start a little bit from Arizona State, and then I'll work into that. Because I actually got into Arizona State. It's probably not the best, I should say this, but I knew that they had a good journalism program. It wasn't the main focus. I went there.
Okay.
My cousin actually graduated there from their business school.
Yeah.
So my interpretation was like, well, my cousin had went there. I understand, 4-year school. They have journalism. Cool. Right. I'll go.
Okay.
So I would. No, it all worked out at the end.
Yeah.
But the programs that they did provide me, very exceptional.
Yeah.
And I credit that university for giving me the platform that allowed me to get that internship. And how it happened was each year Cronkite awards, a respective journalist for that year.
Yeah.
My junior year, which now was about a year and a half ago, was David Muir.
Okay.
And I, since a kid, have admired David and his work and the team at ABC News.
Yeah.
So just as a student alone, once they announced, the recipient, I said, oh, man, I'm buying tickets to this event.
Yeah.
Not knowing that months later, I got an email from the university saying, Denzen, you've been selected by faculty to be the student speaker for David Muir at the 40th annual.
Oh, what an opportunity. Yeah.
So I'm over here sitting with my ticket going, man, I don't need this anymore. I'm going to be right there with him.
Yeah.
And, to go back, I'm going to kind of jump back.
Yeah, that's fine.
From that moment, I said, wow, okay, all the hard work that I did in college, the sacrifice, I would hope it's paying dividends for this one moment because, how rare of an opportunity is it to be face to face with, your idol.
Right.
And so that
the most watched
newscaster
in the country.
And so from that moment I said, okay, well, because there was actually a time where I was questioning, is this the right industry for me? It goes back to that grind. I said it's a tough grind. I was sacrificing in college, going out. I was freelance reporting on my own. So to get that email, I said, okay, well, it's giving me some hope. So fast forward now, February 2024.
Okay.
The day of the event, and I get to meet David, shake his hand, and I say, you know what? I'm just gonna throw it out there. Hey, David, pleasure meeting you. Would love to pick your brain internship. He says, yeah. And, David's a very humble guy. Down to earth.
Yeah.
And I did my speech and luckily did good.
Yeah.
Enough to catch some eyes and make a long story short, it kind of fast tracked of like, okay, apply here. So I applied for the World News Tonight internship. And that process started maybe March of 2000. Yeah, March. I didn't find out I got the internship until mid-June.
Oh, so okay. So you're waiting the whole time.
It was quite an extensive internship applicant process.
Yeah.
But I remember getting that phone call from the Disney recruiter, and she goes, Denzen, I want to notify you of some news that out of 600 candidates, you were selected as the fall intern.
600. Okay.
I said, wow.
That's incredible.
Who would have thought, because I didn't come into college thinking that. And this internship's in New York. So, man, and now I'm going to be in the Big Apple in a part of the country I've never been to, working closely with my idol and the exceptional team that was there and that is there.
Yeah.
And, from that moment, it was going to initially be a 5-month internship from my senior year, August 2024 to January. And then once I got there and, started acclimating, they offered an extension, and then it became a full year.
That's incredible.
Internship.
So you hadn't graduated from college yet, right?
I hadn't, no.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I was still an undergrad.
Yeah.
Still doing school.
Yeah, I was going to ask you.
Yeah. Full-time. This internship was full-time as well, 40 hours. So... And then I was doing also freelance reporting on my own. So
were you sleeping?
Very minimal.
Yeah.
Very minimal. I remember my schedule was Wednesday through Sundays at my internship. And then Mondays and Tuesdays were my school days. So I'm trying to jam pack 16-hour credits into 2 days, taking 5-6 courses, and still doing freelance reporting on Mondays and Tuesdays. I remember reaching out to a source for a story that I did, and I said, hey, I would love to interview you, but it has to be Tuesday between 2 to 4 and 5 to 6. And he goes, what type of reporter asked the source you have to do? But I was just willing to do it because it goes back to what I said. Like to get to the level that you want to be, I wanted to do the extras.
Right.
And that natural passion that I had, it transpired. So I was juggling all that while the internship was going. So it was a very busy year.
Yeah, I can imagine. So you had mentioned earlier, Denzen, that there was a point in time when you did kind of wonder if this was something you wanted to keep doing. Mm-hmm. What prompted that, and how did you get past that?
I think I remember it. So it was one course at Cronkite, a television reporting course. And I think more of the aspect was just, obviously I'm doing this freelance reporting. I'm putting these packages together. But, I'm not sure if it's going to pay dividends down the road. And I think that was more the psychological factor, Is all this grind going to pay off? Because the passion was there, That wasn't the question. I think it was more so, are the extras I'm doing going to help out?
Yeah.
And I think that was just playing psychological games with me. To where I'm questioning. You speak to people in the industry. They say the industry's changing. Job security is a big thing.
Yeah.
So all those kind of questions started populating in my head. I'm like, okay, well, I have a job. Will these extras that I'm doing pay off?
Yeah.
Am I just wasting my time? And then I got that email and I said, okay, well, I'm taking this as a sign that, this just continue pursuing it. It all works out at the end. So that's kind of, I think, how they started populating, but more so just knowing that at the end of the tunnel, at the end, you have to have some faith that everything will work out. And I think that's definitely what pushed me through.
I think that's true. What part, if any, did your parents play in kind of continue to push you past that?
They are my biggest supporters, my biggest critics.
Yeah.
Just yesterday, with some live shots, I was getting real-time critique after I finished
from your parents.
Yeah, after I finished the live shot. Okay. You could have said this better. You could have reported this better. And
that's pretty funny.
I'm so thankful for it because I know I wouldn't be here without them. Like they've played a huge role into where I'm at. From sports, from sports to even now.
Yeah.
My dad's a big news junkie. Just himself watching the news consistently. So, they've kind of acted as both parents, both, viewers, managers. Like they've kind of helped me, and
that's great.
I credit them for a lot for the sacrifices, both personally, financially. Just it's a whole team effort.
Yep. No, that's great.
Yeah.
So I want to go back to when you start talking about kind of the way that you work and the things that a reporter has to think about when they're putting stories together and do your job. Talk a little bit more about that, because I think you're right, especially with broadcast journalism. I think people just think you show up, you stand in front of the camera, and you speak a couple of words, and there's stuff that goes on behind you, and then there's the story. That's not what happens.
Not at all. We definitely have to stay informed what's going on in the community, right? I think everyone's workflow is different. Mine, I like to listen to all platforms of news. And that kind of helps me stay informed of what's going on, but also pitch the stories that, matter.
Yeah.
Like each day to work, I'm listening to the radio, what's going on, how are they reporting, national news, local news, and then I read our local newspapers, anything particular. The story that always sticks out to me is, what's going on nationally, and then I'll look at the local aspect, because oftentimes I think, viewers just see the headline but don't understand, okay, how is this affecting my paycheck? How is this affecting my everyday life? So that's the stories that I like to figure out and focus on. So when I'm in that story pitch meeting, they say at least one story pitch a day. Depends on which newsroom you go to. I like to at least pitch 1 or 2, 3, and then we pitch.
I want to interrupt you just a second, only because I always found those interesting.
Yeah.
When I was at the ABC affiliate here, I wasn't on the news side, but I was on the marketing side, but I'd go to the pitch meetings.
Yeah.
And being a journalism major, I always found it fascinating, the people that were prepared and the people that weren't.
Yeah.
The ones that weren't got handed the stories.
Yeah.
And the people like yourself that had stories, you got to pretty much cover what you want.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit.
The difference?
Yeah.
I could you hit it right on the head, because there's been days where I'll go without pitches and I see the I see a stark difference in my day. Because not only am I getting assigned that story that producers give me, but I feel like I'm playing behind the 8 ball now.
Yeah.
Because now I have to learn the story that I've just been given.
Yeah.
Now I have to figure out, all right, what sources do I need to reach out to?
Yeah.
What's the bigger picture here? Rather than I come prepared, I'm already kind of aware what the story is about.
Right.
I already kind of know who I need to reach out to. So when we're working on deadline, it just makes things much more faster, more concise, rather than playing behind the 8 ball, being unprepared.
Yeah.
And I don't like to be that. I like to be as prepared as possible. Now there's days where you're just assigned and you figure it out, right?
And they'll say, nice job with the stories, Denzen, but we got something else we want you to cover, right?
That happened Friday.
Okay.
So it happens.
Right.
But I think being as prepared as possible, that's the approach I like to take.
Yeah.
So going into those story meetings, you have certain people pitch, I'm going to pitch more of the economic type stories or more local, hyper national. It varies. But from that moment, now how do you translate to get your sources, make sure you're covering both sides, and then make sure you're hitting those on-air deadlines, because that's the biggest part of our industry is deadline.
Yep.
You get it jammed into your head.
Yes, you do.
So
of the whole process in terms of researching the story, getting the interviews lined up, editing, writing the story, is there any particular part that you like better than the other?
Ooh, great question. I will say I love the writing aspect.
Okay.
To me, the storytelling, the writing, how can I be a reporter actually at KCRA told me this, and I love it. Jason Marks, he said, you want to be clever, not corny in your writing. And that's kind of my approach now. How can I be clever to grab that viewer in, to make them understand the severity of the story, or whatever we're reporting on to that day. And that's the part that I enjoy. To me it's a puzzle, it's a jigsaw. Like, okay, how can I bring maybe this natural sound that we captured, or this really great part of our interview in, to make this story so compelling.
Yeah.
I think a part that I'm working on currently to improve on is more, I guess, breaking news.
Okay.
And that's the aspect I wouldn't say it like I don't like it, but I'm just working to improve on it, because that's another element of journalism that you need to get comfortable with, familiar when you're working on a story, being sent maybe 2-3 minutes, or you're arriving just 2-3 minutes ago, and now you have to tell what's going on, what you're seeing. That's the element that it's both exciting, groundbreaking, but also maybe a little nervous. So those two components I really enjoy about this industry, but especially the writing portion. Yeah. And it's super important to be a great writer.
Absolutely. So I want to talk a little bit about breaking news, because when reporters show up, like you said, at the scene of whatever it is, burning house fire, a major accident, somebody announcing something, how do you prepare yourself that quickly to be able to sound with any kind of clarity and confidence that you know what's going on?
I think it goes back. Everyone has their workflows. I was literally having this conversation with a producer and reporter yesterday or last night. Some people will jot down like notes, because there's oftentimes we're sent to a scene with no information.
Sure.
We're just sent, hey, there's police activity here. Go ahead and check it out. But if we do have some sort of information, bullet point notes on a notepad, and then describing the 5 W's, who's involved, what do you see, what do you smell, kind of the senses, but describing the area and scene, because if we don't have the information, okay, well, I could paint the picture of what's going on, right? So that's, I think, the most important element, for all reporters. Obviously, some, I think, have a little more comfortability than others, especially the veteran journalists at Channel 3. But to me, I think that's the workflow I'm still kind of figuring out. But I've noticed, a lot of people, little bullet points, and also not overstaying your stay in a live shot.
That's good advice for anything.
I think for anything, right? Like, hey, there might not be a whole lot of activity, but I'm going to describe what I see and then toss it back to the anchors because, maybe we'll get more information in a few minutes and then they can come right back to us.
So after you went through, a lot of different reporting, schooling, like you said, starting in elementary school, middle school, high school, college, once you started working, even at the internship, did you go, aha, I didn't learn that.
Yeah. You're in it?
Now I'm in it.
I think definitely a lot at the internship because especially when you're in a newsroom at the national level, it's at a very fast pace. Learning to, I guess, be on the fly because I think at Cronkite, we have like days or weeks to work on a story, but when you're working on ever-changing news on a newscast, it's changing by the minute. I can't tell you how many times we had a story in our A block and then just completely scrap it, and then we're starting with something entirely new. You got to think of a script quick.
Yeah.
So that's the aspect where I was like, I didn't learn that in college. Now I'm immersed in it. But also, too, that I don't think is talked about a whole lot is the personal side of things of, you're being away from family. You're working hours where, they might not be the most glorified hours.
And your shift now is what?
Wednesday through Sunday.
And what are the hours?
Dayside.
Okay.
So at my internship, similar 11 to like 7, 8.
Yeah.
But, especially in college, it's like, I think college is very much a bubble.
Yeah.
You have courses that start at 9 a.m, then you have a big 2-hour break, and then your next class is at 11.
Right.
That's the aspect where you're like, I didn't learn this in college, and now I'm, in the newsroom. Things are changing. I'm working with individuals that are older than me.
Yeah.
Maybe with more experience. How can I contribute to this team? And having that confidence. That's something that I took away. That I was like, okay, I'm learning here on the fly.
Sure. Are there any? I can see that because I think the one thing, no matter where you go to school, it doesn't prepare you for the actual day on the job.
Yes.
And I don't know if you can. I mean, you had to have an internship to even get close to that, right?
Yeah.
And there are people that don't have that. They get out of college and then they get their first job in media.
Yeah.
And it's a surprise.
100%.
I think, I think anyway, just talking with people and being in it, it's the deadline driven part of it.
It's the big component. I think deadlines. A lot of people kind of get a little shell shocked once they see, whoa, that's a tight turnaround.
Right.
But I think that's kind of the point of our industry is like, hey, we are giving the news to individuals that need it.
Yeah.
Especially kind of going back to that moment of like, okay, I didn't learn this in college. Especially at the newsroom at ABC, it was, ever changing. But being a college kid in that newsroom too, you kind of could be a little apprehensive.
I bet.
Because I'm like, man, I haven't graduated college yet. And I don't know if the experience that I did do in college could even translate into this level.
Sure. Yeah.
That's why I always, anytime I'm giving advice to students, I say stack your resume while those 4 years. Get the experience, be in a local newsroom. Go report on stories. I truly believe you don't have to be a part of an organization or a newsroom as a student to go report.
Yeah.
Especially in this ever-changing industry where you have a camera or a phone. You could still set up interviews. You could still pursue stories. And I think a major part what kind of helped me is those freelance reporting stories that I did on my own definitely translated to understanding, okay, working on a deadline, who to reach out to in certain moments. That's a big component that I think a lot of students kind of skip over instead of kind of waiting till graduation to, now I need to get
something.
Right.
Yeah, that's bad. No matter, I think, whatever industry you're in, you just can't wait anymore. It's too competitive.
No, and I think you hit the nail on the head. It's like we're even outside of journalism.
Yeah.
We're seeing, a harder job market.
Yep.
Especially, I saw a report by CBS, like especially for Gen Z graduates.
Yeah.
They're having a hard time cracking into this market. So controlling the controllables that you could do could help. So whether that is getting hands-on experience or within an internship or that. Any way best possible to kind of set yourself up post-grad, you know.
So in the time that you've worked already, are there any stories that really stand out?
Great question. I always think, especially this one just came to mind. Definitely the border story I did. That was last year, right around the same time of the Cronkite Awards. This was like around February. The Cronkite School had entered me into the Hearst Journalism Awards. So these journalism awards, they're very in-depth stories, stories that normally you won't see on a daily broadcast, 3-minute package. So the reason why that story really sticks out to me is they sent us out to the southern border. And
where at?
We were in Nogales. Both on the Arizona side and the Mexico side. And being a college student, I mean, this is my first time, seeing the border, being in a hard news story like that. Especially an immigration story where immigration's a very complex issue. It taught me a lot on how to approach a story where you have to do both sides, investigating, what legislation's currently in place, what's going on, but also to certain stories you can't prepare for. You kind of just have to go there. And that was one of those stories where I had no interviews lined up. We were just going to see what we're going to be on the ground. And we spoke to, immigrant families that were there, obviously fleeing cartel violence. And then speaking to Border Patrol, what are they hearing? And then incorporating legislation that was going on at Capitol Hill. It was a story that taught me all sectors of both the local aspect, the governmental aspect, the national aspect. So that's a story that really sticks out. And another one, too, that I truly believe kind of catapulted me within Cronkite was a story that I did on a stretch of road in downtown Phoenix that was called The Zone. And it was similar to like a Skid Row aspect. And there was a ton of media coverage on this stretch of road, but none of them took me into The Zone. So here I am, this young college student, and I grabbed my own equipment and gear, and I went to The Zone, and I immersed myself into tents, embedded. And I asked, hey, can I stay with you? Is it okay? They're like, yeah.
That's pretty incredible.
And I was exposed to a lot. I mean, the drugs, their way of living. But also hearing their stories and, a lot of different backgrounds. You had people that, had financial hardship, usage. It was a mixture of things. And then incorporating, what's going on to help these individuals as far as, programs. That story, I think, got me like 30,000 views on YouTube.
Oh my gosh.
So I was like, wow, okay. And then it got picked up by a couple Arizona news outlets.
And you were embedded for how long in that?
I did that for about 3 days. And but that story kind of helped catapult me.
I could see how it would.
Because what person's going to go and embed themselves in a tent?
Not in that
it was definitely a health risk.
But the things I've read about folks that do that kind of thing, the level of trust you need to establish pretty quickly to do that, that's pretty incredible. How did you go about doing that? Because it's not like they would just open themselves up to anybody, especially a reporter that would just show up.
Yeah, because you're hitting them in a very, very vulnerable time. And I understood that. To me, I didn't view them as like, oh, you're in this predicament. I'm viewing you as we're having this conversation right now. We're brothers and sisters. So I remember I got a lot of no's. I got a lot of strange eyes as I'm carrying all this expensive equipment. But I found this woman, and I just put down my camera gear, and I just had a conversation. And kind of told her what I was doing, and she says, a lot of people aren't doing that side, and I wish more people did. And that's kind of how that trust started building of, well, tell your story. Tell me why.
Right.
And that's kind of how I started to build that trust.
Yeah.
And it's a story that still sticks out to me to this day.
I can see how it would.
I remember one night I left the zone, left after embedding for a few hours. I'm coming back, get to my apartment to finish my homework, and it just hit me that I just got back from an area where people are living outside in tents and, conditions that, are unsanitary or whatever they are.
Well, it's hot.
It's hot in Phoenix.
Yeah.
And here I am in my apartment, and it just hit me.
Yeah.
And the level of, responsibility to tell that story the best way possible.
Yeah.
So that's one. Those are two that really stick out.
What's interesting to me about that, Denzen, is that you put yourself out there in a way that a lot of older adults, reporters, would not want to do. So what was it that just said, forget it, I'm just going to do it?
It's just the mindset I have. When I think just the passion, the curiosity aspect, and the storytelling aspect, right? How I see coverage of this zone story, but what's the unique angle that no one's seen?
Yeah.
And that's my mindset in every story, even here at Channel 3. Even if it's just a simple city council, well, how can I make that unique angle? So going back to the zone story, I mean, I wanted to show the conditions that people were living in. I remember in that video I captured, usage and fentanyl and how to wear a mask because of the fumes. But that was the reality of how people were living. And, a lot of the coverage was just, here they are. Yep. We're not going to take you inside because no one's willing to go inside.
You stand out across the street, just shooting over your shoulder.
Yeah, you want to stay as far as possible. To me, I wanted to bring you in. And I think that's the journalism that's most impactful and really sticks with people.
Did you have any trouble convincing a photographer to do that with you?
I MMJ'd that.
You did?
Yeah.
Did you really? So for anybody who doesn't know, that means that he shot it himself. There was nobody else there with you. That's pretty incredible.
That's why I say the school, had I gone to the school and did it, maybe they would have said no. But that's the aspect of, the freedom of freelance reporting that I was like, hey, this is my own gear. Yeah. It was a lot, making sure I'm watching the gear, I'm speaking. It was a lot, but that's a story that really sticks out.
Yeah, I could see that. I just want to check here a minute. So is there, do you think there's anything unique about Sacramento and how the news is or what you cover? I mean, we are in the capital of the fourth largest economy in the world. Yeah. But sometimes it doesn't act that way. But you are here.
Yeah. Sacramento, you have politics here. You have weather coverage up in the Sierra. San Francisco is not too far away. There's just a whole lot of news in Sacramento. And what I love about it is it's a growing city, but at the same time feels small. And that's the feel that I've had since a kid living here.
Sure.
So when the opportunity presented itself to come back to Sacramento, I mean, who wouldn't want to come back to their hometown and report in the areas that you've been in and seen? And I think what's so special to Sacramento is the people that are here. It's Sacktown and Sacktown only. Obviously, we're getting a lot of people from all over, but you have a lot of people that have lived here from the early days.
Multiple generation
families, that have seen, the Lamb Park areas grow. Even Elk Grove, where I'm at, has grown drastically. It used to be dairy farms. Now you have Costco there. It's like it's growing.
That's true.
And that to me is so special of the type of people that are here, the community that are here, that have just been generational, and to me, it's so special.
Yeah. So, is there any particular tools that you're using now that maybe weren't available even when you were in school from a technology standpoint?
From a technology standpoint, definitely. I think the biggest thing has been the phone. I mean, it's been around, but how much the phone is being incorporated into media. Okay. I mean, I have a lot of journalism buddies that will shoot a full package on the phone or able to edit on the phone. But also, too, the phone being another platform for our news coverage and media. Maybe getting angles that we couldn't get before, obviously with the big camera.
Yeah.
Now we'll have a reporter kind of record a 30-second video, and that will get exposure as well.
Yep.
So I see that being incorporated a lot. The usage of just more, transportable cameras, GoPro, DJI Osmos, those are slowly starting to be embedded into the industry because, once again, how can we take the viewer into areas that we normally can't do?
Right.
And that's the impactful coverage that we want. We want to take you into the scenes, take you into areas that, normally we couldn't do. And now we can because of these, smaller devices.
Yeah. Do you have a preference?
I'm a big GoPro guy.
Really?
I love GoPro. To me, I use them a lot for especially movement.
Yeah.
I think in a package, when you only have a minute 30 or, you're trying to tell it concisely, I think a GoPro could add movement to your story. It keeps it going.
I can see that.
A lot of our photogs will kind of use it as a secondary cutaway for overlay.
Really?
In the video.
Okay.
So if we're doing a story that's very footage, what's the word I'm trying to use? We don't have a lot of footage in that story.
Yeah.
It's maybe a city council meeting or something that's just
pretty static.
Pretty static.
Yes.
We'll use that GoPro as a cutaway because now we're interviewing someone like yourself, but now we have someone interviewing, and that adds an element.
Oh, interesting.
To kind of keep it going.
Yeah.
And that's why I love the GoPro.
Yeah.
Because once again, that angle that we're taking you behind the scenes of how a reporter gets the interview.
So even that alone is something that I think you have to be on the job to learn.
Yeah.
Or you have a teacher either in high school or college that is very kind of willing to experiment and go, you don't have to depend on that big fancy camera.
Yeah.
And here's some alternatives that don't cost very much.
Oh, 100%. Not only cameras, but also, editing software as well.
Yeah.
I can remember in high school, we were taught, actually, no, I'll start in middle school. In middle school, we were taught WeVideo, how to edit there.
Yeah.
And then...
And they're still using
using WeVideo.
Yes.
I remember how to use WeVideo. So learning WeVideo, and then we got graduated to Premiere Pro.
Yep.
And then I remember one of my other media teachers saying, if you don't want to keep paying for Premiere Pro, there is it's not Final Cut. DaVinci.
Yes.
He says there's DaVinci Resolve.
Yeah.
Very similar, but now you can learn that. So I think learning different types of either cameras or software, it only makes you more applicable for jobs because now you're coming in with the expertise from different software.
Right.
At my internship I learned Avid. Never touched Avid before, but I could say, hey, I'm not the best at it, but I could get
you know how to use
could get a VO to you.
Right. Right. You're not going to be editing a movie.
No, I'm not going to be able to, but I could get you a VOSOT on it.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the elements that I think with educators teaching students, as much camera software as possible can only help them down the road.
Sure. So earlier you had mentioned this whole idea of curiosity being a critical part of being a journalist. And
yes.
I couldn't agree more. What are two other things?
Ooh, to me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Besides curiosity.
Curiosity.
That make a good reporter.
I think you have to be in a way. It's not humble. No, it starts with another H. I'll say humble though. You have to be humble because you're speaking to individuals from all backgrounds.
Yeah.
Some have experienced this in their lives. Some are coming from escaping violence.
Yeah.
So that just natural ability to be able to speak to individuals from all different backgrounds. I think you have to have that human element. If you don't, you can, but you're just not going to be the reporter that really gravitates with people because I think viewers sense that in a reporter. How genuine are you?
Yeah, the lack of authenticity or the presence of it.
Correct.
Yeah.
How genuine can you be?
Right.
Because that aspect is really important when you're reporting. Another element too, and it's the big one, credibility. That is the number one thing. That is what we run on. We have to be accurate. We have to be transparent, especially in this day of age where we're seeing artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
We're seeing it's a changing industry right now. We're having outside influencers now saying as reporters.
Right.
People could go to different applications. So credibility is the biggest thing that I think differentiates a journalist from anyone else.
Yeah.
Because once you lose that, I mean, essentially you lose everything because that's what we're running on.
Right.
So I would say those two things definitely make a journalist curiosity, genuine care for people, and credibility.
Yeah, I think you're right. Because I think that for so long, people saw reporters and anchors especially as just being removed from all of it. You just you showed up, you did the story, you didn't get involved. But that way that you did with the story you told of being embedded with the homeless camp, that isn't something that journalists did 20 years ago. It was pretty rare, right? And there was a few people that started doing more and more of that, and I think they kind of led the way in some respects. It probably set up this idea that, no, you don't have to stay behind the camera to do the work.
Oh, no. No. It's once again, how can I reach those audiences? And if that means going to the scene and asking and embedding, then it's showing viewers, it's showing people that tune into our newscast what is going on. Because this is something I took from my internship. You're not going to get the story from the news desk or the newsroom. That's not how you're going to get it. You're going to get it by actually being there. And I think viewers sense that. And when you combine that with, the genuine sincerity with people, I mean, viewers will gravitate.
I think that's true. I think that's true. So what given that, and given the role that media has in journalism in particular, how do you think it can be used to strengthen communities?
At the end of the day, it strengthens communities because some of these communities don't have a lot of exposure, right? Especially if you're heading out to rural areas. I'll say one story that we did at Channel 3 that kind of ties into it, especially with hospital closures in the rural area. It's a big topic right now. A lot of these communities don't have that element, that voice to say what's going on. One that speaks out to me is especially in Glenn County, Glenn Medical Center. I was speaking to people on Facebook, and they say, my elderly parents use this medical center. Now we have to drive X amount of minutes to head to Calusa for this next one, and especially this side of road. It floods a lot. What happens in a moment where it's life or death, and I have to drive almost close to an hour to the nearest hospital? I think those are the communities that really feed off of the news coverage, because we're putting that into the spotlight of this is what's going on, because otherwise they wouldn't get that coverage, right? And also too, it helps communities to put those that do have power responsible, especially in politics or city council, or just even local journalism stories. We have that ability to ask the hard-hitting questions that someone at home is thinking about. And you get to put that in a platform to hold those accountable, to make sure that there's nothing going on, right? So I think those two things are the benefit factors of TV journalism. And they say the industry is changing and dying. Journalism won't die. It's just changing as far as the platform.
I think you're right. So what is media doing right when it comes to supporting local community news?
I think just being out in those areas, because at the end of the day, it's a lot of speaking with individuals that are being affected. Because otherwise, then you're just kind of covering a certain demographic, and only that demographic's being covered. So especially at 3, our biggest thing is, hey, if we have to head out to Stanislaus County, or if we're heading out to Roseville or Yolo, we're sending our reporters there to speak to those
Yeah.
individuals.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way that our coverage could get better, but also to making sure that those voices are being heard and being
Yeah,
being
I think that's
for,
important.
you know.
So what would you say to your high school self now that you've been out for a while?
Ooh. I'm going to think on that one.
Yeah.
Because 18-year-old Denzen's very different now, or
Yeah.
from then.
Yeah.
I would say trust the process, but also to trust the process, but establish relationships early.
Okay. Yeah.
And network early, because this industry is very small. And I think a lot of people think it's big and, with so much news, but it really is a small industry. So I would tell myself, at the end of the day, everything will work out, but get started early.
Yeah.
Start reporting early, because, excuse me, thought I was going to, but if you could start early as far as the reporting aspect, getting out, and start establishing those good habits,
Yeah.
they're only going to serve you,
Yeah.
much better and later down the road.
Yeah.
Because I think oftentimes, especially young journalists or students, we kind of wait, and now you're kind of playing behind the 8-ball game.
Yeah.
So that whole experience adds up at the end of the day. So
Yeah.
that's what I tell myself. Get even started earlier.
So where do you see yourself 5-6 years from now?
Ooh. Man, I haven't even started seeing after next week, Aaron. The one thing that my colleagues did say, they said the stories will start to blur, and they have. But I think for right now, I'm really focused in Sacramento.
Yeah.
I wish I could answer your question.
No,
but,
that's all right. That's actually a good response.
I wish I could answer you that question, but for right now, I'm really focused in Sacramento, because when coming here, I made a vow to myself and the community that I'm gonna give it my all,
right,
to be the best reporter I can be for the community that I grew up in.
Yeah.
And I hold a great pride in that, a great sense of being in my hometown, to where I can't see far down the line, because I'm focused on the right now and focused on just being the best journalist, the best version of Denzen today and tomorrow, and that's what I've kind of been focusing on.
Well, I think that's important, because I see people that come into this business and they're so focused on a career path that has definitive mile markers to it.
Yeah.
I'm going to spend 2 years in this market. I'm going to get this. I'm going to do this and this and this. And then in 2 years, I'm going to be in this market. And 2 years, I'm going to be in this market. And then it's like, I think if you become that focused, you lose track of all the other stuff that could be maybe directing you into a different place that might even be better than that path you might be on.
100%. That's one thing that I've learned, not just in journalism but in life, is just being in the present moment.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to give it your all if your mindset's elsewhere.
Right.
If my mindset's in the future or even the past, I'm not putting the 100% effort that viewers need and rely, my team relies, but also myself.
Yeah.
So that's the really important thing that I've taken to Channel 3 is, being in the present moment, learning from the exceptional journalists that are there and the veteran journalists. I'm trying to learn every day. So, and I still learn every day. I think that's the beauty about this industry is you think that but you don't.
Right.
And that mindset, if I'm fine. No, you don't. You're learning consistently every day, and you're being an expert for that day. And then the next story, a totally different topic.
Yep, that's true.
And that's the beauty about it. So when I think of Sacramento, I said, oh, well, I'm improving, and that's all I can do.
Yeah. So, reporters cover a lot of serious things, and I think mental health can be problematic, for lack of a better word, because I certainly saw it at the station when there was like a whole spate of bad things happening, and everybody had to cover them, between the George Floyd murder and all the riots that happened after that, and some other shootings and other stuff, and then the fires and people losing their life with that. It just seemed like there were like a couple of years of one thing after another that was pretty horrific, and it started taking a toll on folks. I mean, you're still pretty new, obviously, so there's a lot of things that are still to come. but it's still something obviously you need to be cognizant of.
Very much so. Going back to that zone story, I think my mental health kind of definitely was, took a little scrape there, because I'm like, wow, here I am interviewing these individuals, and then I come back to my apartment, and it just it felt weird. It really sunk in as that human moment. Another one, even at 3 a few weeks ago, I covered a story of a shooting, and the person I interviewed, I knew her daughter because I went to school with her.
Oh, boy.
So to me, that moment was like, whoa, okay. Yeah. So I think it's the nature of our industry. We're covering some really hard stuff, and it could be taking a toll on that mental. So to me, I try to, on my days off, kind of reset the batteries. And it's easier said than done. But making sure that you're taking that care of that mental health, both physically, mentally. I'm pretty open about it. In journalism, or last year in New York, I even got into therapy to kind of help. Just kind of talking about it. That I think a lot of people in general don't often do. But it's needed, especially in our industry where you're covering a lot. It's tight deadlines. Your mind's filled with a lot of things. It could definitely take a toll, and especially since it's a long run industry. It's a marathon, not a race.
That's true.
You make sure you don't want to kind of hurt yourself there.
That's true. So the last question, excuse me, I have is, what advice that you haven't already mentioned would you give people who want to become journalists, especially young people in high school that might still be trying to figure it out?
I would say, first off, find kind of like your passion and your niche. Whether that be some type of beat or anything along those lines. But if you have any type of curiosity in putting stories together, kind of start to follow that. And I think biggest thing I always give is, if you have the opportunity, if you have the equipment to do so, go report. That's the only way you're gonna get better as a reporter, but also understand how to cover stories. Because you're in that element. You can only learn so much from a book. It's being out there, talking with the communities. Even if you're just a solo student at age 17, you're getting the experience, you're getting the reps of how to conduct an interview, how to approach very vulnerable situations and conducting vulnerable interviews. That's the biggest piece of advice I always give students is go report, go to the story.
Pick up a camera and go tell a story.
Pick up a camera and go. And even if you don't want to be on air, if you want to be print or digital, call up. If you think of a story idea, pitch it to yourself. Write it down. I used to do this. I would write down the story idea. I would make a tree graph. This is a potential soundbite I could speak to. Potential opposing side. Overall, what do people need to learn? And then I would reach out, email them, and call them. Hear back. Hey, can we do this interview? Schedule it. Pull up with my equipment and do the story. And I would say, okay, by next Tuesday, this story needs to be finished, edited. And I was responsible until that deadline to get this story done. That's the advice I would give. Go and do that, because that's only going to serve you well later down the road, not just for yourself or your team, but truly for the viewers, because you'll have that experience on how to conduct and how to handle. And they'll see that once you're on.
I think that's great.
So.
That's really good advice. That's really good advice.
Something I've learned.
Well, thank you, Denzen. This has been great. I appreciate you being here.
No, I appreciate you guys inviting me doing this, and I truly take great pride in sharing that advice with young journalists like myself, because like I said, the industry's changing, but we have a whole group of young journalists. And especially in this day and age where journalism is super important, any advice that I could give to the younger generation to kind of help them, I'm willing to do.
That's great. Well, thank you. Appreciate it.
Of course.
All right.
That was awesome.
Well, that's it for this episode of Lights, Camera, Learn. You can pick us up on Apple Music, Spotify, Pandora, and also on our website, secctv.org. You can also support us on Patreon by clicking on Lights, Camera, Learn. That's it for this episode. Until the next time, make it a great day. Thanks.